guys, it's Lita. I hope you're all amazing. And if you are not, I hope my podcast makes you smile and laugh. This is a very different kind of thing I'm doing. I'm doing a little podcast collaboration. It's actually a blog collaboration. And I'm today here with a fellow blogger friend named Sam. He is known as Sam Unsheathed.
Hiya.
Would you like to introduce yourself, Sam?
Hey guys, I'm Sam from the Unsheathed Blog, here with the awesome Lita Kino. And just as a quick background for me and my blog, it's where I ramble on about anime, Asian culture, K-pop, and how it relates to life, and my Christian faith as well. So yeah, that's basically me in a nutshell, being a weeb.
Being a weeb. Oh, well, I actually don't like the name weeb. I just call myself a anime fan. That's it.
Gotcha.
That's it, really.
Sometimes I use Asian media connoisseur or enthusiast. It makes it sound all nice and distinguished right there, you know?
Yes. So in this little blogger collaboration, it's the first time we're doing sort of a podcast based format. And with Sam today, we've had this blogger collaboration planned for since when? Last June?
Something like that. It's been a while.
So, I know it's been a while. And today, for our blogger podcast, we're going to be discussing about emotion, how anime conveys emotion through so many different means, and we'll be talking about like favorite scenes that we have and what music has like captured us and just like having a good time. So I'm going to get Sam to start us off with on how he feels about just the main question of this podcast is how does anime make you feel, or how does anime convey emotion for you?
Well, that's a great question. For me, I would say that like anime and animation in general for me kind of occupies this nice little niche in media where just by virtue of it being animated, it has a way of impacting me a little bit more deeply, I would say, than like most other traditional media, just because well, since it's animated and it's not live action, it tends to have a little bit more going for it, I guess you could say. Because with anime, when you're watching an animated scene or whatever, there's so many parts that go into delivering the impact or the idea that like the director wants to convey. It's the animation, it's the lighting, it's the voice acting, it's the music. There's so many pieces that come together to form just one scene. And so like when I'm watching an anime, say like Anohana, which is just full of emotions and people dealing with emotions, just all of these different things that come together in so many different ways to create so many different feelings, from unease to confusion to sadness to joy. I really feel that animation especially can convey those emotions in a way that kind of slips under the radar a little bit, just by virtue of being animated and being a little bit more expressive. Especially with anime, where like eyes are bigger and overall you can kind of tell someone's body language a little bit more clearly in anime, because it's kind of telegraphed or exaggerated a little bit more so that everyone can kind of get it. I think by virtue of it being in a more accessible format, you get to really feel the emotions that the storyteller is trying to convey a lot better with anime.
Yes, I fully agree with what you just said. And in terms of how emotion is conveyed for anime, for me is, you know, in the animation, the most and the music. But I will cover first off about, I guess, animation wise, like the use of backgrounds. A show I recently have been watching in the winter 2017 season is Kuzo no Honkai, which is Scum's Wish. And that is a show that is delving into the ugliness of unrequited love, of how you end up using someone for personal gain, for your love that you cannot have, or the person that you're in love with you cannot have. Scum's Wish, I just love the use of the pastel type animation. It's very unique, and what I love about it is that in certain scenes, there is a scene I can recollect where Hanabi is looking up at the she's on the school roof and she's looking up at the sky and she's like holding on to the like the railing she is, and there's this silhouette of like three different images. She looks like she's going really far away and it's coming up to being close up. And that use of animation makes it feel very in depth, like Hanabi is in very deep thought, and that really broadens that aspect. And also, it's from an episode, spoilers by the way, episode 11 of Scum's Wish is when like we really look into Akane's character of how she is this very twisted woman who feeds off people's sensitivity and pain. She's a piece of work. And there is this one scene where she's all in, like, the animation looks flawless. She's all in pastel colors. On the bottom of the subtitles, it says, this is my life's work. That really heightens the whole scene itself. She's probably thinking in that moment, of why she does what she does, and she considers it to herself her life's work, and just of how the pastel colors of like the auburn pinks and like kind of autumny kind of colors, it really just heightens that scene and it makes it memorable. Like for me, it makes me think, oh my God, she's like so full of herself. She's full of herself. That is, for example, of the use of like backgrounds and colors and everything.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like colors, especially, really work towards delivering a specific feel for a series. Like I was recently finishing up season 2 of Konosuba, and there was this one episode that took place in a town where it was surrounded by hot springs, and so like the main product of the city was like their hot springs, and like overall the city had a really like Mediterranean feel to it. And so just like watching it, and there was one scene in particular where two of the main characters are sitting by a fountain and eating lunch together, and like I wanted to take a screenshot of just this one scene because the colors in Konosuba are usually very bright, but in this one specific scene, the colors were still bright, but they were just slightly muted, just a little bit. So it felt a little bit like a watercolor. So you really get to feel that sense of calm and like relaxation, I guess, with the characters as they're sharing this moment. They're sitting there, they're like off to one side in the shot, so they're not the only things dominating like your point of view, but you're getting to see like part of the city behind them, and you're just focusing in on them, just chilling, eating lunch. And I think I want to say that the music was really subtle too in that one specific instance. So overall, it really worked together to give you this sense of this is just chill. They're just hanging out here, and the colors really helped drive the point home because it was just bright enough to remain that happy, joyful feel of the series, but just muted enough to pull it back just a little bit to be like, hey, this is just their time to just relax and get to know one another, you know? That was, I really like that about another anime as well. Usagi Drop, or Bunny Drop, is all about,
Oh yeah. Oh,
yeah.
mentioning animes I've not seen.
Oh, Alina, it's such a good show though. It's like, one of my favorite slice of lives to introduce to people who aren't into anime. And anyway, it's about this bachelor who learns how to be a single father, and you'll notice right off the bat that the animation style is very reminiscent to watercolor painting. In like a watercolor painting, the style shifts ever so slightly, sometimes in between scenes, to like being more like a painting, to be more like a traditional style of animation, but the color palette remains the same. So it's a little bit difficult to notice that shift in style, but when you do notice it, you're just like, hey, that's cool, because it often happens when the show is about to kick into the story in earnest. So it goes from being just slightly more shapeless, I guess, kind of alluding more to it happens more during the joyful times of the series. We're getting to know the characters and how they're interacting more because it's a 30-something-year-old guy with a 6-year-old girl. He's learning how to be a dad. It's just really cute overall. And then when it shifts into the more businessy, we need to figure out what's going on in this series side, it tends to shift a little bit more towards traditional. So that slight shift
Mm.
in tone along with animation really work together along with the colors to achieve this really seamless kind of calm and laid back but with elements of seriousness to it, just like real life. And that's what I liked about it, how like the realism of the series was kind of manifested in the way that the animation and the colors worked together.
I think I fully agree with you regarding like slice of life. Slice of life genre seems to do that very well, obviously from like real life aspect, real life situations.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, slice of life shows always have this very, very seamless flow they do. Like one show that like for me that in terms of like a memorable scene in terms of how the whole scene was put together and of the music playing in the background was from a anime that I absolutely love, which is Nagi no Asakara. It is by PA Works. And this is going to be a spoiler. I don't know if you've seen Nagi no Asakara or not, Sam.
Bits here and there. I think I saw like 1 or 2 episodes. I tend to anime hop a lot.
Oh yeah, you're missing out, mate. It's a very serene show, all about youthful youngsters that are learning about romance and friendships, still laughing.
Youthful youngsters.
Youthful
Is it the
youngsters.
sea one about that civilization under the sea?
Yeah, there's one about the sea village, and the spoiler that's coming in is that during halfway through the series, there is a time skip where everyone in the entire Shishio sea village is frozen over because the Shishio god wants to sacrifice, and the people there always do an annual ceremony every year called the Hunafiki, called Kunafiki, and they always the sacrifice in terms of mostly it's a woman that's always sacrificed. Of the main characters, Manaka, Kaname, Sugumu, Chisaki, Hikari, only Chisaki and Sugumu survive the ordeal where everyone is frozen over. Fast track 5 years later, and Chisaki and Sugumu have grown up. They have a bit. And one of the characters that I really connected with was Chisaki. Chisaki absolutely hates change. That trait in her is follows through all the way through the entire series. And the realization came to pass for her is when, it's been 5 years since the village froze over, and her middle school friend Hikari has not aged once when he is the first one to wake up from the village. And when she hears of this, she's absolutely distraught. She fears of seeing him. It'll be too much of an impact for him. And the moment that happens, that scene, it hit right through me. It did. The music and just mostly the expression from Chisaki and Hikari's face. It's just full of disbelief, and mostly Chisaki's expression was just horrified. Basically, she was terrified, and that was like a very powerful scene that I cannot forget. I can't because like the anime, in my opinion, loads of people have said this, but Nagina Asakara is one of the best animation pieces that PA Works has done. The animation is just out of this world, creating the whole serene aquatic kind of feel. So do you have a scene that is memorable for you in terms of like the animation and music and everything?
Let's see. If I had to pick one scene specifically that always just stuck out to me for animation and music, it's a hard question because there's so many good scenes in anime, because anime is great at delivering those really powerful moments. But if I had to pick one, I would say maybe the climax of One Punch Man, which I'm not sure if you've seen, Lita, and if you haven't,
No, I've not. I've not seen One Punch Man. No.
it's so good. It's like the best superhero anime of them all. But the climax of season 1 of that series, I'm not going to spoil anything, but just gonna say, when you watch the series all the way through, which you can now since it's all out, when you watch the series from beginning to end and you get to follow Saitama on his journey, basically, just he's continuously the strongest. He's continuously trying to look for another challenge. He's continuously hoping that he finds that kind of fulfillment that he's looking for, and he gets a taste of that in the last episode. And if you're something like me, who kind of like a person that kind of goes all in when you're watching something, you're kind of like, oh wow, I didn't see this coming. Is this going to be any different from any of his other fights. And when he gets into it and the music just starts picking up to pull along with the mood, and the villain he's fighting starts to just go all out, Super Saiyan, knock down, beat him up, fight, and you're just like, wow, this is intense. Man, that scene right there for me is just I'm never gonna forget that last fight. Just in terms of, it felt as intense as a Dragon Ball Z fight. I was just as invested in it as I was back when Gohan was facing off against Cell in the Cell games back in Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, I remember that. That the music. I love the music to
Oh
Dragon Ball
yeah,
Z,
it's
and like I remember the scene where like Goku is in spirit and he's telling Gohan to just let it out, let out all that hidden powers within himself. Oh, it was like
oh yeah,
epic music was playing. It was, it was an epic
definitely.
moment, and it's like so memorable. It's never left my mind. It
Oh
hasn't.
yeah,
Oh yeah,
you could really
good
tell the
times.
influence that like classic shonen had on One Punch Man in that last like moment of the series. So definitely, if you
Mm,
like
yeah.
any classic shonen at all, you should watch One Punch Man. It hits all those right notes right there in that one series. Season two,
And you should
great.
watch, and you should finish Nagino Asakara.
I
Yes.
know, so many animes, so little time.
I know, so little time. But moving on with how anime conveys emotion, also music plays a very vital part. I'll give one example of one scene that I absolutely love the song and the scene itself. It's very cliche, kind of what happens, but it's the impact that it made upon me. It's from the anime Gundam Seed. It's a mecha series. I'm sure
Hey,
you've all heard of Gundam at some point in your lives.
Gundam for the win.
Yes, Gundam for the win. I'm such a mecha girl. Um, there's one scene in there where the Archangel has been set up by one of their fellow allies, and the whole island at the time was going to detonate. Can't remember the name of the island, and they were all faced with near sudden death situation where there is a enemy Gundam that's pointing a gun right at their front window of in the command cockpit where the commander usually sits and everyone else, all the other subordinates, and they were about to die. And there's like this slow motion of freeze frames of their shocking faces. There is, and I remember when the music came on in the background. The music that I love with this scene is called Vestige, and it is from the Gundam original soundtrack. It starts out very slow and then eventually gets very uplifting, kind of upbeat. And that's when Kira comes zooming in with the freedom and, beats the Gundam that's threatening the Archangel, and gives like a little speech, like, I'm here now, I have found my path. And the music with it, carrying on with the scene, goes around defeating everybody, blah, 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 blah. It was very a big impact for me. I just love the song. I can always listen to it every time. And every time I listen to it, I can just recollect that scene in my mind. I can. So yeah, that was a scene that made a big impact in terms of music, not just the animation that was pouring out with emotion. It was also the song that amplified the whole scene as well. Kira's seen as this hope.
Oh yeah.
He is. It's like, Kira. You know how any scene could be like that. Do you have a scene where music really amplified the whole scene itself
Oh
and made
yeah.
an impact on you?
Oh yeah, definitely. I will say I'm a sucker for just anime fights. So like when a good fight's going on, just when those kick in, and one of the most memorable for me was when I was watching Gundam Build Fighters. It was one of my first Gundam shows actually. I was getting into it.
Oh, I haven't seen that one yet.
Oh,
I haven't seen
it's
that
like
one
a
yet.
love letter to all of Gundam. I was watching it alongside Gundam
Oh,
Double O. In fact, I watched a little bit of Double O before I started watching Gundam Build Fighters, and even watching them alongside each other, I was like, oh my gosh, that's that mobile suit from Double O. Or, oh whoa, so that's what that was in that one episode. It was reference to this Gundam, and like if you watch other Gundam shows, you'll definitely pick up on all the like the
yeah.
Easter eggs that they hid in Build Fighters, just because it's a really big love letter to like all of Gundam up to that point. But anyway, there was this one fight that your two heroes, Reiji and Sei, were just going at in the last, I want to say, last battle of one of the last battles of the series, when pretty much them and all their friends are going up against basically the final boss, which is like this super huge army of Gundam, and they're fighting against one of their earlier allies who had actually been kind of mind controlled to fight against them. And so they're just going all out using all their skill because they know that at any time if they slip up, he could beat them. And so right as they're like really getting into it and they're getting going with their match, like the opening theme kicks in, and the opening theme song is already inspirational, but like, when it was coming in right then, when they were just pulling up all their strength to fight as hard as they could, it just like elevated the level of intensity of the scene from like a 10 to like a 25. It just blew it wide open, and just having that in the background while you're just rooting for Reiji and Sei, and your heart's going out with them, you're just like, you guys can do it. It was just so good just to have all of that culminate in that one final battle, and just seeing them overcome all the struggles they'd come through so far together, just having all of that wrapped up in that one song that you'd heard over and over with each episode, but you really just got to feel the impact of it now, was just really, really good. I really appreciated that about Gundam Build Fighters. I mean, call it childish, call it like a big advertisement, which it kind of is. I mean, I started building Gunpla after that show, but some really, really good songs for their opening themes. I think it's the opening theme for the first season of Build Fighters is called Nibunichi, I want to say. It's by the group Back On, and they're a pretty awesome Japanese rock group. If you haven't heard any of their stuff, they're good. I haven't really heard anything like that. I haven't. So, but it sounds really, really epic. It does. Oh yeah, it definitely is. Almost on that level of Attack on Titan theme song. But I think by now everyone knows how inspirational that song is.
Oh yeah, everybody knows. Another scene that really kind of captured me in terms of music was from Yona of the Dawn, Katsuki no Yona.
Princess one, right?
Yeah, the princess one. It's where she's running from the kingdom and with her bodyguard Hack. And they run into an opposing leader from her cousin's army, I think it was, one of the officers. And I don't know if they said that back in ancient China, officers, probably lieutenants or something. And so they get cornered, and Hack is thrown over on a cliff, and he's about to fall off. He's wounded and everything, stabbed, and Yona has been grabbed by the hair. And I remember that scene is very similar to like Sakura from Naruto. I can't forget that scene where like she just gets her Shakuran and just cuts off her hair. This is what Yona does, but she uses a sword. Yona's not seen the world outside of her kingdom. She's only being exposed to it now, and she's comprehending of how things are now. It's not all so rosy. She looks very badass. She's looking the general guy, the enemy, right in the eye, and she looks terrifying. The whole scene of, her eyes are roaring amber red, and the music that's playing in the background is very, very epic and makes the scene feel abrupt, and there's tension. You can just feel it, like it's coming off of her, basically. And, she's saying to the general enemy guy, that I'm not going to stand here and be powerless now. I don't want to see Hack die. He's not going to die. The whole atmosphere felt, very tensious. And, it's just like, any viewer would think, oh, my God, she's going to start kicking ass, So that was a very impactful scene, it was. And it was good to see Yona, finally wake up. But in terms of music from Yona of the Dawn, very ancient Chinese. I say ancient China, I'm like ancient China, very, very old school musical instruments are being used in there, like chimes and the big, massive, like gong bell things you can hear. There's a mixture of different music elements in it. I absolutely love that about the show. It just kills it every time in every important scene in the series. Kills it every time with the music. That's what makes the series memorable for me. In terms of for anime, conveying emotion, it does it so well. It does it in a different way for me than like say a normal watching one of my favorite, normal movies does. It's done in a different way. And and I've talked about like music makes an impact in like a scene, but obviously animation makes. What is one anime studio that you really love? And what is one anime from there that you think the animation just really heightens every scene or every important scene that happens in the series?
If I had to pick one animation studio, I'd probably go with Aniplex because they animated one of my favorite anime of all time, Puella Magi Madoka Magica. And if you've seen Madoka Magica, you know that it starts off like it's going to be really typical
I haven't.
magical girl anime. You need to see it. It's like legitimately really, really good. Like, if you don't see anything else that I've recommended, see Madoka Magica. It is worth it, just because of like the depth of the emotions that it explores. But anyway, they animated Madoka Magica, and if you've seen the series, you'll know that like it starts off seeming like it's going to be a really typical magical girl. Oh yeah, everything's nice and happy kind of show. But episode 3 happens, and from there you start to see what's really going on. And it's honestly surprisingly dark, but not without its hope. But what I really loved about the series and the way they animated it is, one, the backgrounds are just amazing. Just like the cityscapes, like when they go into different worlds and they're fighting like the witches or whatever. Oh man, just like the various art styles they used all blew me away. But what I really liked specifically was their use of animation on facial expressions and body language. Like, for example, when the character Sayaka is going through, she has like, out of the 12-ish episodes of the series, there's about 3 that are mainly centered on her in her relationship with her best friends and with the one boy that she likes. And you get to really see how she's struggling with learning to let go of the person that she loves because of her identity as a magical girl now. It's her coming to grips with the fact that she'll never be able to truly be open with him, and that she feels that he'll never be able to really love her because of it, and learning to let go, and just seeing her slowly spiral into despair because the gift that she thought she was getting from becoming a magical girl was twisted just ever so slightly to where she started to regret and become angry at herself. And just the way that you got to see her personality change through her facial expressions, to where originally, episode 1, Sayaka's one of those really upbeat, really peppy, we can do this kind of people, to where by the end of one of the episodes, she's beaten down. She's like, what's the point of anything anymore at this point? And just seeing the way it changed, where you got to see like her head was turned slightly more down, and it would turn down a little bit more and in her default position as the series progressed, or you would notice that like the shadow of her bangs would hang a little bit lower over her eyes, and you would even notice that, like, the color palette would get a little bit darker when she was around as her emotions darkened. So just the way all these little tiny details in different scenes and different little tweaks to characters happened that really made a difference for me with Madoka Magica. So yeah, definitely I give Aniplex props for being really good about the subtle stuff in that show.
Yeah. I like Aniplex. I like some of their works that they've done. One of my favorite studios, if anyone's stuck around on my channel or blog for a while, is Kyoto Animation. I absolutely love Kyoto Animation with a burning love. And I have a couple of favorite shows by them.
Didn't they do Lucky Star? I want to say they
did. Yeah, they did Lucky Star. Yeah, I haven't watched Lucky Star. There is still a few KyoAni shows I've not watched. Like, most impactful for me by them so far is Clannad. Clannad. Oh, what? You've not seen Clannad?
No, I'm a bad otaku, I know, but I want to.
Oh, wow. I've never heard anyone say that. We all know what Clannad is about. It's, do you know what Clannad's about, actually, Sam?
big book of feels is
A big book of feels.
basically the crux
Well,
of
it's
it.
about a guy called Tomio, and like his dad gets drunk quite a bit. He's in debt, and he's a bit of delinquent. And he doesn't really have many friends except this other blonde dude. I can't remember his name because it's been so long since I saw it. And then he meets this sweet, innocent girl named Nagisa. And they end up being befriending together, and they start a drama club, and eventually they fall in love. And it's a very, very realistic anime life aspect kind of show. It's one of Kyo Annie's really iconic works, and you can't really fault it. Someone's saying to me, "Oh, it's rubbish," because I've heard it before. You cannot say it's rubbish. The emotion that is conveyed through that show, the animation amplifies it like tenfold, and it's so beautiful, and I enjoyed it so much. But you need a box of tissues. You need a box of tissues. In terms of like just anime in general conveying emotion, it is an amazing, beautiful thing, and we all experience something different. We do.
Oh yeah.
I'm sure you agree, Sam.
Oh, definitely. But I do like have a question for you though.
Oh, okay.
When when you're watching anime, how do you like really determine when a series has really hit that high point of like everything working together to like really convey a certain feel? Because I feel like a lot of series, or at least pretty much every series, tries to do that at all points within like any episode at any given time. But like for you specifically, like when do you really like feel like a series has really hit that point where like, yes, this is exactly what I'm feeling right now. This is exactly what you wanted me to feel right now.
Okay, well, I can talk about something very recently because actually, right now, I'm watching Free.
Mm,
That is by Kyo Annie. It's more than boys and their bods. Trust me, the show
really?
is more than that. I love the main character, Haru. There's like nothing special about him. All he cares about is he wants to swim all the time. And while watching this show, I'm nearly on end of season 12. Sorry, yeah, 12, oh my god. I'm on end of season 1. The bit for me that really like heightened everything to get to the point it was trying to make was when I think episode 10 or 11, where Haru is beginning to realize that he doesn't, and this is spoilers by the way, sorry people if you've not seen Free, is Haru's getting to the point where he's learning that he might not always want to swim freely. He's thought like that for so many years, he has, and that he didn't really want to be competitively swim against his former friend Reen. And eventually he loses a race against Reen, and then he sees all his teammates pushing through to try and get a place to go to regionals. And this completely opens up his mind, it does, to that he wants to try for the team now. It made him remember when he had his relay with everybody else, including Reen when he was a child, and it made him feel happiness again to be a part of a team and everything. And that's when I felt truly invested in the series. I felt truly invested when Haru realized that. I mean, Haru's capture was the first one that kind of captured me at first with his love for swimming and stuff. That's just connecting on a personal level because I love swimming and stuff. I, absolutely love Free. It is more than a show about boys in swimsuits. Trust me. It's more than that, people. But yeah, it took a while for me to get to that point where I just felt emotionally invested. Not saying I wasn't emotionally affected by the surroundings or the goings on with all the friendships between all the guys and everything. It's just at that point, in terms of Haru, I felt, right, this show has finally grabbed me. Well, I'll ask you the same question. When was that like for you then, when you get to a certain point in a show?
Let's see. If I had to pick a recent show, I'd say that happened to me when I was watching ReZero. And when you get to the point where Subaru finally just opens up about everything that's been going on with him to Rem. I want to say it was around the middle of the series. For me, that really like hit home because I'm sitting there watching and I'm like, wow, this is a lot like me. Because like up until this point in the show, Subaru had been trying so hard to save everyone. He had just been dropped into a fantasy world. He had no idea what was going on, but he was like, you know what? I'm going to make the best of this. I mean, I'm probably the main character in some fantasy epic, and honestly, I would probably react the same way. And it's like, you're just following him on his adventures as he's stumbling around trying to figure stuff out. Comes across this mysterious, beautiful girl, Amelia. They become friends. He immediately wants to become more than friends. He starts understanding her perspective on the world. He wants to help her out. He's trying to help out so many people and just be there for everyone, but he keeps making mistakes. And these mistakes take a toll on him because of the way that the world is set up, where if he dies at any point during his journey, he is resurrected again at a point earlier in his journey. And so, by this point, Subaru has died and been, quote-unquote, respawned several times. And, like, you just really feel the stress that's on him. Like, he can't tell anyone. He feels he can't tell anyone about his problems. He's trying to shoulder all of this, trying to save everyone, but he just can't. And at this point in the series, I myself had been wondering why I was still watching, because I wasn't enjoying it. I wasn't enjoying seeing Subaru just hurt himself over and over, or look at him and see him making mistakes and making really, really dumb decisions that I didn't like. And then this episode happened. He just finally says enough is enough. He pours out his entire heart to Rem, and she's just there listening, reminding him that, hey, it's not that bad. You're not a horrible person. You're not who you think you are. The Subaru that I know, someone who's there for people, someone who loves people, someone who tries to help people. You helped me. And just seeing that and, like, realizing that, like, hey, no matter how hard things get, you're still not the only one that's going through that. There are other people around you that can help you out. And just, like, seeing that happen, I guess, was that point in the series where I was like, yeah, I'm all in. I had no doubts anymore about whether I wanted to continue the series. I guess for me, it's like, when I get to that point in a series where I see a little bit of myself, I really just am just like, yeah, I want to keep going. Because, like, when a story can kind of crystallize some human aspect that I empathize with, I really feel that's when I get really all in and invested.
Again, I haven't seen ReZero. It sounds like an amazing scene. It sounds amazing.
We keep going back and forth with series that neither.
I know. It just shows our different tastes. Basically. But you guys down below in the comments, or whoever listens to this podcast, you guys should let us know down below, like, what you think about how anime conveys emotion. What does it do for you? Is it in terms of animation? Is it in terms of music? Is it in terms of the characters? It's loads of other many factors, and we would love to hear your opinions. And I hope you guys enjoyed this little blogger collaboration podcast thing. And I would like to thank Sam for joining me to do this. This was a whole lot of fun, Sam.
Oh yeah, definitely. This is fun. We should do this again sometime.
Yes, we will. We will do this again. I would love to do more of along the lines of this sort of thing. And I will leave links down below for you guys to go check out Sam. You can follow him on Twitter, and you can follow him on his blog. What is your blog address, by the way? Is it samunsheathed.com or is it .wordpress.com?
Actually, I'm unsheathedblog.com. I was going to go with Unsheathed.
Oh, okay.
First time around, but that was taken, so I'm like, fine. Unsheathed.
Oh, okay.
Let's go.
Yeah, we will do this again, and hope you guys all have a wonderful, awesome day or night wherever you are. Bye.
Bye.
Links will be down below for Sam, by the way. Bye.